Good afternoon, everyone. We are here with the second day of our Languages Week. A couple of months back, we had decided that each month we'll devote a week discussing on issues and opportunities. At that point of time, it was all issues because we're in the middle of a deeper COVID crisis. But now we are talking more about opportunities, and that's how it goes on. Thanks to AVP Ananda, our partnering sponsor, and powered by Colors Marathi. We have a panel with us and we'll discuss how regional publications, especially print, continue with its promise and a quick introduction to the panel. They are all known to all of us, but yet just a formality. Basant Rathore, Senior VP, Strategy, Business Development, Brand, Jagran Prakashan. Welcome, Basant. Good afternoon. We have Monica Nair Patnaik, Managing Director of Samvad Group. Good afternoon, Monica. You're joining us from East. Basant is, I hope, joining us from the north, and we also have a west and south, so it's news as complete as it gets. Varghese Chandy, we have VP Marketing, Advertising, Sales, Malayalam Manorama. Good evening, Varghese. And Samrat Fadnis is the editor in traditional and digital media, Sakal Media Group. Good afternoon, Samrat. So to start with, I mean, I know we are in the middle of a COVID era and everything has changed or is said to have changed, but for a brief period of time, let us go back to what it was before COVID. Now, each KPMG or Deloitte report would say that print is registering a degrowth or it's not growing up as, up to the expectation that was laid. So initial remarks from each panelist, what do you think the regional publications or print as a whole in the languages space, which I mean apart from English, where it was before COVID? I'm not talking about, we're not taking COVID into account. Varghese, can we start with you?
All right. Yes, I've been also reading the reports, but it's not entirely true, at least our state is concerned. I am referring to the last IRS that, the figures said that the print reach was 87% in Kerala, and the television was 81%, and the internet was 56%. So though all these percentages are very high, whether it is for television or for the internet or for the print, the point I want to make was the pre-COVID day, the print was very high. It always was high, and television, when I say television, it is a C&S, cable and satellite, was never able to overtake the print reach in Kerala. So print continues to be very strong. So that is a pre-COVID situation. And if you talk about advertising, also, I don't know whether it was any structural issue that we had, because we had two continuous years of rain, 2018 and 19. And that affected the business to a great extent, not just the print, it affected everybody. It affected television channels, it affected print, it affected radio, everybody. So I would say our growth was kind of stunted. When we were growing at a certain percentage, that growth did not happen in those, in the current year. So, so that is the only thing which I can see, and I would wait for the next round to talk about the post-COVID.
Basant, why don't you draw a picture for us on what it was, the position of print, especially the publication you represent, as well as the market, what it was in the pre-COVID space?
If you look at it, see, whatever the reports say is one thing, but I think as a medium, I think print has done pretty well for itself. Even despite a lot of people who are writing in terms of, okay, digital takes over and this is what's happening in space and all that. Having said that, I think there's a space and there's a place and there's a time for every medium. And very clearly, print has held on to its own, and in fact, we've emerged better. So therefore, I've done a lot of work in the tier 2, tier 3 markets to get a sense of where does print stand in the entire news consumption landscape, and we hold a pretty strong and a very important position in people's lives. So I really don't see the relevance of print actually being sidelined at all. In fact,
Okay.
I care, the relevance is actually increased, and it is increasing by the day. Although we are not talking about COVID and this post-COVID situation and all this, but despite the fact that there are numerous sources of media available to you today, the most credible ports of call today, where you really want to really figure out and cross-check and confirm and create a point of view and an opinion, you turn to print. You get a time to reflect. There's a time to contemplate. There are these little pauses. When you're reading, you're actually reading. You aren't doing multitasking. You're reading in the morning. Okay, where the faculties are at the best possible state in terms of absorption of information. So I think, and also as a medium, I think it's something that does not intrude on your time. You choose to read what you want to. You choose to ignore what you don't want to read. Okay. Unlike TV, for example, if there's an ad coming or anything else that's coming, there's something happening in your face. Print is not in your face. Okay. So I think there's this subtle nature of print which is actually working brilliantly to its advantage. I think across all newspapers, I think the kind of environments that we've all created for ourselves in terms of the kind of language, tonality, the customization of the language and the words that we've done for local markets, I think that's huge and unreplicable as a strength. So print has done phenomenally well to my mind. It holds a huge relevance in people's day-to-day lives. It's probably now emerged in the in the COVID world as well. It's emerged as the most credible medium of. So therefore,
Right.
I really don't see much of a issue regarding a cyclical downturn in a revenue or some categories not firing, etc. The health of print is strong, continues to be strong, and revenues will flow as long as there and users are there. So that's my take.
That's great. Relevance and credibility. Monica, I'll leave you here. What is your view of this entire subject of print and its relevance and credibility? How do you see it?
It's a brilliant example. About a few years back, I think the first WAN IFRA South Asia conference held in Kolkata. I think it was about 6 years back, when Jayant was there and Arita Sarkar was there with the panel discussion, and I was there. The idea at that time was, the topic was Newsroom 2020. What is going to happen to print? Everybody in America, Europe, everybody shutting down newspaper, they're turning to digital. What are we going to do in India? What is happening with the next decade? And imagine that time we were saying that nothing is going to happen much in India. Print is still going to be there. It is going to thrive. It is there, the nature of the citizens and especially the diversity in India, that the print is going to stay. And lo behold, I think few years have already passed and 2020 is here. And we do not see any difference. As rightly said, it's in spite of having the electronic media being there, you have a choice in the print. You have a choice of reading what you want. And you have a choice where, because more regional print is thriving also because of the local content. You have multiple editions. In Orissa, we are the first one to have 9 editions and 5 printing centers. So people are used to reading their local content and they're submerging it. Yes, of course, you can't doubt and disregard the onset of digital media. But in my opinion, the reading habits and the diversity is going to stay. And print is still not going to go anywhere as of now for India. And as Varghese said, that it is, the percentages are increasing. Yes, post-COVID, we have seen a little, the stagnation in the sense, but we are surprised here that we have been able to recover the kind of circulation, the readership which we had earlier. It is coming back to normal and touching the same circulation figure. So that's quite heartening to see.
Great, thank you, Monica. Samrat, what's your view of print as a, and especially regional print publication? What's your view? And we are talking about pre-COVID. We are not factoring in the COVID disruption
yet. Yeah, like what Monica ji and Basant was saying. Since last 15 years, we have talked many times that print will die and this will be the end date of print. But this has not happened specifically in Asian, Southeast Asia, especially in India. I have observed in last 2 years in Maharashtra that print is continued growing despite of digital growth in Maharashtra, where Mumbai and Pune and Nagpur like cities have 100% digital penetration. despite of that, print is growing. And I found, since I work in both the mediums simultaneously at a time, I found that one of the basic reason for continuing attracting print for the audience is that the trust. Like Basanji very perfectly mentioned, that it's a credibility of print. Whenever I see a content on online in digital format on social media, I next day I verified whether it is true or not, or it's at the same day I verified in my newspaper whether the content is true or not. And that I always find in last 2-3 years that the social media fake news is actually helping print media in a different way to increase its credibility. So print is growing, and in before COVID situation, there was a sense that okay, we will hit enormously and it will be our last nail in the coffin. But I don't see that is happening right now.
Okay, thank you. Uh, Before we move ahead, I request all the attendees, please send in your questions. I have my set of questions, but I am sure you also would like to interact with our panelists and get to know something more. Coming back to you, Verghese, this vision of India reflecting Western or especially European or American trend, do you think there's a metro versus non-metro behavioral difference in India, where metro behaves differently when it comes to interacting with a newspaper versus the non-metros, and thus the regional print publications, they find more relevance?
We call Kerala as the largest metro in the country. It's one large, strip of land where there is no urban-rural difference. In fact, the urbanization is so good in Kerala. In each, census, you see the urban population is only going up. So you're actually asking the wrong person the question about metro versus non-metro, because we see absolutely the metro characteristics of in any part. You come to Cochin, you come to Trivandrum, you drive. I mean, if I drive out to my town, which I was staying in Kottayam, it is absolutely a metro. So I don't find any difference in the metro versus non-metro. The only difference I would say is that here in this metro, people prefer language newspaper to English newspaper. Perhaps in those so-called metros, there could be, or that could be the only place where the English newspapers are doing extremely well or exceedingly well. We will find in Kerala, now I'll just give one example with statistics. The number one English newspaper in Kerala is around the penetration is around 0.5%. Against Malayalam Manorama alone is around 28.6%. This is the entire state put together. So you could see the difference, the language rules in states like Kerala.
Okay, Basant, what's your view on this debate that English has very much taken over the metro markets, and therefore the regional publications are deeply dependent on the non-metros?
Not entirely true. In fact, if you look at just building on what Verghese is saying, if you look at it, the earlier difference that people used to make between India and Bharat, or metro and non-metro, so to say, those lines have blurred, completely blurred. I mean, there is access, there is huge amount of aspiration that you find in the non-metros, so to say. There's affordability, there's accessibility. Everything is available to them. Okay, access in terms of to information, aspiration in terms of brands, and affordability in terms of money. I think when all these three combine, there's really no difference. If you look at the way e-commerce sites are going and the kind of shopping behaviors that is being demonstrated. I think just last week possibly, where Amazon, I think, had quoted that 90% of their new subscriptions are coming from Tier 2, Tier 3 markets.
Yeah.
Therefore, if you look at it, these people are exposed to the best in the world. Aspiration-wise, there's nothing to differentiate between the metro and a non-metro person. And if you look at it, the new age heroes of India, the new age icons of India are all from non-metros.
Correct.
So therefore, I don't see any really difference. If you look at cuisines, they are merging. If you look at celebrations, they're merging. If you look at music tastes, they're all the same. So what differentiates? Nothing to my mind. Having said, you say metros is for English and non-metros is for languages, is also not entirely true. Non-metros is entirely for Hindi and for languages and the respective languages. However, in metros, let me tell you what's happening out there. The growth of languages in metros is higher than the growth of English in metros, for one. Second, the kind of migration that have happened from the non-metro to the metro, these are the people who want to consume news about their state in their language. And that's a huge plus point. I for example, that people from UP and Bihar have migrated to Delhi and to several other places in the northern markets, and they prefer to read news of their place in their language and from brands they've trusted. And that resulted in a huge amount of number gain or circulation gain or readership gain for language publications, even in the metros. So therefore, language publications have had the best of both worlds. We dominate the non-metro markets, and we are quite a handful in the metro markets. For example, if I look at a Delhi NCR market, if you look at the NCR, which is the hub of Delhi and NCR region, Jagran, for example, being a Hindi newspaper, is the #1 newspaper. If I add Delhi plus NCR, yet again we are #1 out there. 10 years ago, it was not the situation. So therefore, there are winds which are blowing in favor of languages, because this is that people actually dream in. Languages are the thing that people really believe in. I mean, you're made up of that. You respond to a word in a language very differently from that in English or any other language for that matter. So therefore, I really don't see much of a difference, frankly.
Correct. Yeah, it reminds me of an image that Anant Goenka had once tweeted. He had shared a Navbharat Times, a person reading Navbharat Times while traveling on a business class, and said that that's not something you should not count it out.
Absolutely, people aren't apologetic about reading languages and flaunting their language. Absolutely.
Great. Monica, your view on this urban people or affluent people not reading or not consuming content in the regional languages, especially when it comes to print?
See, I exactly the same thing. I call the Bhubaneswar and Cuttack of Odisha. They're twin cities, and I call them the metroish cities of the state, because they are a little bit towards the main center, and non-metro for us is the rural area where the penetration is also there. You will be surprised at every year we have annual competitions, and the participation from the other cities is humongously high than compared to these cities which we feel they are metroish villages or the cities of the state. Whereas when we are talking about the penetration of the regional daily, it is not only at the metro level, but at the rural level also. There is, as he's pointed about Kerala, Odisha definitely has a rural, urban readers, right? Catering to everybody of them. And you will see over here also, as you were saying, the penetration of English daily. There are only 2 papers here, mainly Times of India and Indian Express. There is not even less than 500,000 also. Whereas with the circulation over here, ours is about 6 times or 7 times or whatever. So you want to read your news if you are away from, not from the main city, as we were saying, that if I'm from UP or Bihar, would want to read the news in Delhi. Similarly here also, if I am in Sambalpur or another Berhampur, and I'm stationed in, mainly in Bhubaneswar, we need to put in the news of that area, because they want to read about their own villages or their own places. So there is definitely a need and growth we have seen. And imagine, we are also, we are a highest subscribed newspaper, in the sense the rate, the per newspaper, as compared to Odia competition dailies also, as well as the English paper also. But Bible reader read the most expensive newspaper. Why? Again, the same thing, because they want to read their own language, they want to read about the nitty-gritties of the state, And I think definitely the regional way of reading, in the sense that people want to read in their language, and there's no qualms about it. Absolutely no qualms. Nowadays, people are migrating towards reading their Odia papers and rather getting an English paper at home.
Correct. Correct. Samrat, what is competition for you then? Operating from Maharashtra, what is it? Are you fighting with English dailies, or are you fighting for time, or what's competition for you then?
Yeah, it's a different situation in different locations. Actually, there are two scenarios. One scenario is typically limited to the Mumbai market, where Times of India exists for more than 100 years, and still rest of the language newspapers still thrive. They survived, and they are strongly competing with Times of India. Yes, in the Mumbai market, as a number one, Times of India is definitely there. But if you combine the English and language market, the language market is much higher than what the English market is. So the situation is like, okay, Times of India survives there as an English market, Indian Express survives in the Mumbai market, and Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati newspapers actually thriving in Mumbai market. So that is a different scenario for Maharashtra. In rest of Maharashtra, if you take any city, language newspapers, they are much ahead than the English newspaper. So the market for language is always growing in urban areas of rest of Maharashtra. Even if you take a Nagpur-like area where it's a multilingual city where Hindi is, it's like a primary language for many thousands of citizens. And still Marathi newspaper is there, Hindi newspaper are surviving, and then comes English newspaper. In Pune like market that is close to metro, I can say it as a metro market.
Correct.
Language newspaper is dominating multiple times than the English newspapers. So as far as Maharashtra concerned, except Mumbai, everywhere language is much ahead of what the main English newspaper, English market is. And this is primarily because of internal migration. So people from different locations in Maharashtra are migrating to Mumbai, Pune or Nagpur from their rural areas. So my rural newspaper survives at that local rural market, and the new newspaper subscribers are getting due to the migration from different cities to internal Maharashtra areas. So this is how Maharashtra's language market is continuously growing.
Great. Great. We had a migration, of course, during the COVID period, and we saw people going back. And with that, what also happened is the growth of our PDF consumptions. It happened manifold. There's a question from someone. The person asked, what percentage of consumers are preferring to subscribe to physical newspapers or e-versions? How does the e-paper supplement the subscriptions numbers for print publications? Burgess, would you take that question?
See, the PDF versions are always there. It had nothing to do with COVID or anything, but the only difference is that we have started charging for our e-paper recently. Okay, so it was not one substituting the other. Okay, because one of the things which happened in during the COVID times elsewhere in the country and in Kerala, there's a huge difference, humongous difference, because you also asked who are you fighting, who is your competition. I would say my competition is the northern market, because of the kind of offers of 1+1, etc. they offer, which is not relevant in Kerala. Why? Because Kerala, the distribution never got disrupted. The circulation never got disrupted. Okay. I think that's a different answer altogether. The question was about whether the PDF is very much there, e-paper is very much there, but as a percentage, I don't even want to hazard a guess, because it will be very, very minuscule. But it's growing. It's growing. Not substituting the print.
Okay, Basant, your response. I mean, there was a clear jab to what is happening in the northern space. So why don't you respond to it?
See, the internet editions and the digital editions for everybody has gone up. If you look at it from an overall news perspective, more people are consuming more news, and I think that's a good space to be in. Having said that, no medium has ever replaced the other. obituaries have been written for radio, for TV, for everybody. Nothing has ever happened. What internet has actually done to us is it is just one more platform to help me extend my reach beyond my geographical boundaries and make it accessible to people at a time when they really need it and whenever they want to interact with it. So I think it has just added one more dimension to my communicating with my readers about news and the event of and the happenings of the day. So if I look at it from a marketing point of view, for me, competition is anybody who provides news and information. It could be anybody.
Okay. Yeah, because we have been talking about digital. We have not addressed television as a medium yet.
Everybody who provides news and information is competition to us. Okay. And having said that, within that, how do you find yourself? How do you make yourself relevant? So I think the good part is more people consuming more news is a big thing, because if you look at it, more media is being consumed, and that's in fact the best place possibly to be in. Today, my news is available online. It's available in the printed format. People can pick and choose whatever is convenient to them at what point in time. Through my own research, through our own research, I did a longitudinal research within our markets, and we actually try to figure out what's happening. Everybody does a depth survey and all of that. We try to look at what time do we access what kind of media. So if you look at it, for every 100 people, and I'll give you a very broad top line of that, for every 100 people who consume news or information in the morning, 75 of them are on newspapers. During the daytime, which is 9 to 6, for every 100 people who are on news, about 30 of them are on TV, another 40 to 50, 55 to 60% are on digital medium, and the rest are distributed. At prime time, which is the 7 o'clock and beyond, it's evenly distributed between TV and internet. So if you look at it, there are very clear slots. So if as a media, as a media house that has presence in print and digital and TV, you can do it very, very simply. You start your agenda, set the agenda through the newspaper, have the conversation during the day through your internet networks, through your digital properties, and cap the debate at night through a TV channel for all you care, if there is a semblance of a debate, that is. So if you look at it, there is space for everybody.
Correct.
And the important point is to find your own relevance. And I see it a very seamless transition, because people are using media seamlessly. In the morning, it's my habit to pick up a newspaper. On my drive time, I'm looking at my mobile or something. In the evening, I'm listening to a TV debate. People have figured it out. I think it's very simple to look at it from that point of view.
Okay, that's great. That's well put. Monica, is there there's another question that has come up, and that's very interesting. It says that while we all consider ourselves to be competitor of each other, is there opportunities for brand to build synergistic plans? Like strategically partner with other mediums like radio and TV. So your view, Monica, on this question. It's from Anirudh Kalia.
So again, you're talking to us being Sambad Group, the #1 media house of the state of Orissa. So now once we say the media house means we have the print, electronic, news channel, GC channel, FM radio, digital online. So there is a group which we call that the Sambad Group. Now, when we are talking about synergies, there are two things. There are either, when there is a campaign or something, and if it is a local campaign, sometimes we do a 360-degree approach to them, and then you present it like that. I'm talking about the advertising part. Whereas there are other advertisers, there's absolutely total different synergies between talking about the advertisement in an electronic channel or in a print medium or in the digital medium. Now, when you talk about the news, this is very interesting. We are this question, and it's not that widespread like North. We say that there are few states to cover. So as in this state, if I'm talking about, there could be a synergy when we started a news channel, for example, Kanak News. Since we had a plethora of 314 representatives and 314 blocks at the panchayat level of reporters of Sambad itself, the newspaper, we had an advantage of gathering the news, because these representatives were also giving a synergy to the news channel. So it began like that. Now what is happening is they are on their own. Now when we are bringing up the digital version of it, again what happens is, again the newspaper, the print, synergizes with the digital, makes it happen with the news content which is coming in, and then it is disseminated. But now we just handhold for the beginning, And now they're also a different vertical and a different setup with different set of people. So you can get a synergy between the verticals if you want to. There is different news. So now recently, it's interesting that earlier we thought that it would be better to, have a different vertical for the digital. But about 3 days back itself, we are trying to have a digital boardroom where the editorial desk for the print as well as for the digital have a synergy in between, so that we don't miss any news. They don't say that, look what the digital is talking and what the print is talking in different line altogether. So we're trying to synergize as of now. Let's see how it begins, and I'm sure it helps in between. But you will have to have different verticals for making it, profit center heads. That's for sure.
Okay, I hope that answers Anirudh's question. Verghese, there is another question, and you had briefly touched upon it. It says India's awesome newspaper distribution system, where the paper is still delivered at home, is not given enough credit. In the West, labor costs have destroyed home delivery, hastening the decline of newspapers. Will the home delivery system in India for how long? So how long do you see this continuing in India? And is that where the future rests of our print?
See, we have a very robust distribution system in Kerala. More than about 15,000 distributors, agents are there. Unlike the rest of these states where you also have shop sales and hawkers, etc. Our 95% of the sales happen on home delivery. And therefore, of course, we are dependent a lot on the newspaper distribution boys. And right now they have become an institution in themselves, because there are people with, 1,000 newspapers, 1,500 newspapers, and they have a distribution system that works, which really helps them. So, you will not find any longer distribution on cycles, that's gone. It's all on scooters. So they also upgraded themselves. And the other reason is that newspaper distribution people will look as a business proposition is if it makes, if they're able to make reasonable amount of money for that. Now, one other qualifying factor for that is our unit price is 7 rupee 50 paisa per day and 8 rupees on a Sunday. Kerala is one state where newspapers have traditionally been priced high, and that happens because I wouldn't say price high, priced reasonably well. Other places it's priced much cheaper. Okay, so with all that, it makes economic sense for the newspaper distribution boys or newspaper distribution agents to do the distribution. Yes, we also face problems, but I think it's not that bad, or as you see in the Western parts of the world, that we have so much of issues. So now newspaper distribution also is, I said that it is definitely make economic sense, all the more the post-COVID time, when people are looking for jobs, etc. I think this would also fetch reasonably good income for the people who are, left without jobs. So I don't think any time in the near future there would be a newspaper distribution problem that we will face in Kerala.
That's great. Samrat, what's your view about the distribution in Maharashtra, and is that the critical part of for the survival of newspapers, delivering it at home?
Yeah, it is very essential and unavoidable part of newspaper survival in Maharashtra. I think probably Maharashtra and Pune, Mumbai and Pune were the only places where the newspapers 100% circulation was blocked for 2 months.
Correct.
So this period gives both of the stakeholders sense that we are dependent of each other. So it's not that vendor is survived of newspaper or newspaper is survived of vendor, but both are actually dependent of each other. When the newspaper circulation was blocked for 2 months, the uh, biggest disadvantage was faced by vendors, because they have their daily bread and butter dependent on the newspaper that was actually stopped. So
Right.
newspaper association, vendor association actually came forward to fight with the government to start the newspaper circulation again. So I think this has taught us a very different lesson, that we are dependent of each other, and I'm sure that it will survive, because no other business is of 3-4 hours in the morning at present, despite except Swiggy and other those digital apps. But newspaper circulation, vendor-based circulation is a system of 100-year-old, that is oldest than Amazon, Flipkart, or any other digital e-commerce is doing. So I am sure that it will survive in coming years also.
Great. Basant, there's a question. Why don't you take it? It says, it's from Ashwini Gangal. She writes, compared to maybe 15 years ago, I see a lot of symbolic pride nowadays about flaunting roots and Mother Indian language, like mother tongue. CMO of Royal Enfield, Shubhranshu Singh, has started writing regular Hindi columns for papers in his home state. What do you think? How do you think this can be used by the print publications? This love for or affection for mother tongue and this flaunting pride on it. I don't think I can hear a person. Hi, Monica, would you like to take the question? I think we have lost person for a minute.
Yeah, so you're talking about the people who are writing.
No. She's saying that there's a lot of, she sees a lot of pride nowadays. People taking a lot of pride in flaunting their local roots and mother tongue. So how can regional publications, regional newspapers use that, to actually for their benefit?
So anybody who would want to, that's what we said, the connect, the regional connect. Anybody would want to be a part of it. Newspapers can help in participating and spreading the news around and the word around from those people. For example, we had, I've been having regularly this Brands of Orissa Pride of India Awards every year. Now, I try to get the judges, the jury, independent jury, which I try to get every year, is sung by at least one of them to be connected, being an Odia who is doing very well outside the state, right? Who's at a good position, all right. So that when he comes here, he talks about it and he's also impressed. And when he goes back, he talks about the state again. So there is a connect. You get a lot of information from them because they're at brilliant positions outside. And you want to rope them in. It's not that only that they want to write a regional column itself, but imagine promoting them here. It's a pride for the state, as well as when he or she goes back to their own work, they again talk about the state being developed and coming across, and their local connect, their roots. So I think it's a win-win situation.
Okay, that's great. Verghese, would you like to add to it? I mean, the pride that you see in people flaunting their mother tongue or their local roots, working for the benefit of the regional newspapers.
Well, I mean, there is always a pride associated with your language, and I would say that what the social media perhaps has done, like Facebook, etc., has further polarized that, and there are language groups, etc., very, very, very strong, and so the pride for the language is always there. But more than the pride, I would say, then how did you get that pride? For instance, I opened a newspaper. I can read the European Premier League or Champions Premier League, better than any other English newspapers. Look at the technology where the language newspapers have, adapted, and you will find the first satellite technologies were, I mean, the good old days, satellite technologies were adopted by us. And you will always find that we are foreigners in technological development, any IT related developments, everything. The newspapers are, I would say, better than any English newspaper. And as Monica has said about serving the function of the hyper local.
Right.
We have more than about 110 hyper local editions in Kerala. And we cater to 14 districts and 110 hyper local editions. Which are the newspaper? It's even your digital will not offer that. Therefore, none of this can be substituted by anything else in the near future, is what I feel. Therefore, it's more than the pride, it's a function that it serves. The language newspapers serve is beyond any other medium, I would say.
There's a question for Samrat actually. It's from Sula W. Ikigai. The question says, Daily Lokmat has run excellent model based on Zilla edition. Passage of time, they stood strong in the metro. What is your view on this, Samrat? Zilla edition, as Bhogis also said, I mean, there are district editions already.
Yeah, there are district editions of Sakal and Lokmat. These two prominent newspapers are actually have more than a 50% share of Maharashtra. Like Varghese sir said, each of the Sakal or Lokmat had not only district edition, but beyond district edition, they have sub-district editions. For example, in Pune, we produce 12 different editions for Pune district only. So we have different 5 editions for city and 7 editions for rural area or semi-urban areas. So district edition and the beauty of reaching out to hyperlocal content, this is beyond what television or even if Facebook like social media or a digital platform can do, with the authenticity and the legacy which we print shares.
Okay, that's great. We are now at the last phase, and here comes the COVID question. All the industries, they've been talking about survival, recovery, and growth. Where do you see regional publications? Starting with you, Varghese. Is it on a phase of recovery, or are you thinking growth already?
As I said in the beginning about circulation, we never had a problem to recover from. Okay, because our newspaper distribution was intact. Okay, our chief minister and our health minister, they from day one kept on announcing that newspapers do not transmit COVID, and therefore there are no problem at all. Therefore, the distribution never got affected. Even in the micro containment area, we were able to distribute the newspaper. Okay, I keep telling this to all the panels I meet, that one of the reasons why we survived the COVID times is because of our distribution income. Okay, because we never cut down on the jobs, we never cut down on salaries. All this because newspaper distribution was intact, and that part of the revenue was intact, and there was collection was almost intact, because of that we were able to survive. Now, coming to the advertising part, we are picking up. We are on a recovery path. Month on month, we are growing. And in terms of volumes, we have almost reached 90% of last year. That is the in the current situation. Yeah.
Okay. So quarter 4 of the financial year, if I compare it with the previous quarter 4, like the quarter 4 of the previous financial year, where do you see it? Do you see slight growth, or do you see catching up? How do you see it?
Quarter 4, I would say that would be catching up. I mean, I would love to say as a marketing man that we would like to see a growth, but to be realistic, I would say that we would definitely be catching up with last year's figures at least.
Okay, catching up with last year's figures. Monica, what's your view if I compare quarter 4 with the previous quarter 4?
You're talking to me?
Yeah, I'm asking you if just from where Varghese left.
Okay. I just got disconnected for a while. No, actually, yes, we are picking up. Actually, we take the festival period here because the puja as well as the Diwali. So that we compare the 45 days festival period as compared to last year and this year. So you're right, it is picking up, and we have seen a little surge as compared to this months of May and June, which were little April, May, June, July. But now we have kind of good recovery. So it has been absolutely, it's on the path.
Okay. Samrat, your view on the western side and especially for Sakar?
Yeah, actually for Sakar or any newspaper in Maharashtra, especially in Mumbai and Pune, June 1st was the day when we started. We were in 1780 like Bombay Gazette until then, and June 1st we started newspaper circulation again. So as a Sakar, we have recovered almost 94% of the circulation. On business front, yes, we are growing. I cannot say that we will exceed or show large growth this year, but it will be enough for any media organization to catch up with what they have already gained last year. So we are there up to 94%, and I'm sure it will continue to be the same in coming months.
Great. Last question, and with it we'll end. I'll ask this to each panelist individually, starting with you, Varghese. Going forward, do you think the dependence on advertising revenue, especially for regional publications, will have to reduce further, and you'll have to increase your cover price maybe? How do you see it going forward, the relationship between, or the ratio of advertising versus circulation revenue?
I think the Kerala story is perhaps an example to the rest of the country that we, because our revenue has been good, not only the unit price and the distribution also didn't get affected, and because of the unit price, it really helped us to sustain ourselves through these times. I think it is a clarion call for the rest of the country to increase the cover price. Okay, but we are at 7.50 rupees. I don't think it warrants us to increase our price at this point in time.
Okay. Monica, is the Kerala model something?
Yeah, same here, Ribbon here, because Orissa, the problem was earlier nobody wanted to increase the cover price. We are the only paper, Sambad is 7 rupees and the others are still 5 rupees. Still, they do not want to increase the price. I don't know for what, because the kind of subscription revenue you're gonna get is through this itself. Because we were attending. We are depending. India is mostly depending on advertising revenue rather than the subscription revenue.
Correct.
Whereas it should be approximately balance between the both. So we need to go towards the subscription model in a big manner. Of course, right now we cannot increase it because we're already at a high. And yes, we are able to recover a lot of our circulation as of now. And advertising.
And you give a sizable percentage of the circulation revenue as commissions to the distributors, right? Like that's also should be taken into account.
Exactly. So that's what we try to train them and tell them. The higher the subscription rate of the newspaper, higher the commission you are getting. So it is actually you are earning more than whatever you were earning earlier. So they've got the point and they are moving towards it. But sometimes the publishers do not want to increase it just to leave it like that. So but we were lucky to be in a position that increased subscription rate and getting exactly the same revenue for the advertisement. As we were saying, there's also not 1:1 over here, which does not make sense with us, because you have recovered your circulation. So why would you be able to give such kind of schemes? So thankfully we've been able to manage pretty well.
Right. We have Basant back with us. Basant, there was a question that I had asked everyone.
I had a power outage. So.
Okay. That's okay. Actually, the question was quite simple. It was everybody is talking about either survival, recovery, or growth. Where do you see yourself? Like, are you thinking for a growth today, or is it that you are still recovering? How do you see Q4 comparing to the previous Q4? Q4 of the financial.
Yeah, in fact, every month is better than the previous month. So we should be able to get back to growth very quickly. Yet to recover lost ground of last year, but I think steadily the market, the sentiment seems right. There's good traction that we see, And I think we should be hitting peak levels very quickly.
That's great. What another factor that we were discussing is the cover price and the dependence on advertising revenue. Going forward, should it go down? Like, should you be less dependent on advertising revenue and more work on circulation and therefore increase your cover price? Maybe, how do you see it?
I think it'll be quite utopian to think that only cover prices might be able to run us through. But having said that, I think a judicious mix has to be evolved for an industry that has been for decades legacy has been working very clearly with a 70-30 kind of a ratio in favor of advertising. I think revenue mixes don't change overnight. So I think it'll take its own course. Having said that, cover prices are being raised year on year. And I do hope that there would be an equitable balance. We need both revenues. We need both circulation revenues as well as advertising revenues. And there's no wishing away one for the other.
Okay.
I think a judicious call and a very practical consensus industry level call has to be taken depending upon individual competitors in every market. I think it's a very complex game if you look at it. Commissions are different, competition is different, motivations of competition are very, very different in some markets, and so on and so forth. So sometimes it's not always possible for all people to come together on the same table. But if and when we do, I think it'll be a good thing for the industry as a whole.
Benson, I just want to say one thing, how Kerala operates. In Kerala, all the publications come together when it comes to pricing of a newspaper and the distribution commission percentage, etc. So there is absolutely level playing ground there, and we are able to take the prices up only because all newspapers stand together on that.
Absolutely. I think consensus works like magic. So I think, but it's difficult to find consensus across different markets with different competition. I mean, for example,
I totally agree with you on that. Yeah.
So I think, but I think slowly and steadily people are realizing it. And I think we're all in the same boat. If you look at it from a publisher's point of view, we all have the same economics. So I think if we get together and maybe over a period of time, maybe just go market by market and maybe go slow and steady. I mean, Kerala demonstrated very clearly, as Varghese is saying. And I think we've often spoken about the Kerala model, the way I think probably the highest cover prices are right now being charged in Kerala. If that people are willing to pay a price for the content, provided we are up for it. So I think gradually these are gradual moves.
Yeah, but when you have 70% dependence on advertising, and which is getting disrupted every now and then, we saw a disruption after demonetization, then after GST, and now after COVID. What does it say for the industry that depends so heavily on this one source of revenue?
See, dependence on some sources of revenue is always going to be around. I mean, it will be a 70-30 reverse for all you care. And then also there's a disruption happening for content. There's a fight for that as well. So we're in this game. So which is why I'm saying I need revenues coming from both the baskets.
Okay.
If it had been the reverse, you still had some revenues coming from there. And you still have
the dependency for us is becoming very high on advertising. Things are going to change and should change.
They will.
It is very difficult to catch on with the advertising. You have seen it in this COVID time. You've seen the kind of fall and the drop suddenly. So if you would have some kind of another situation comes arise and where the advertisings are totally going into low, at least the subscription will hold, as Kerala is saying, come together, have a consensus, increase the price. It is, and that way the distributors, the vendors, everybody is gaining. Yeah. Slowly you'll have to, we are also thinking a 10 rupee plus newspaper, just content, no ads. People are sick. The readers are also saying that what is this front page ads in your newspapers about every time? Double jackets and all. So the readers complain to the editorial and we get business and we try to say, no, the business is important. So there's a clash. So it's best to have a content driven newspaper.
Clashes are good. We'll end it here. Before we end, we have an AV to play. So can we please have the AV? I'll ask my colleague Devashish to just play.
A pandemic couldn't stop us from bringing you the news. A lockdown couldn't contain us from bringing you the updates. nature's fury couldn't stop us from bringing you the actual picture of severity and sufferings. The gloom around couldn't hold us up when it comes to bringing you how the human race is fighting back. We are the ones to initiate that learning doesn't come to a standstill. No wonder we have emerged as the #1 channel, not just in our category, but across all the genres. ABP Anando, the #1 channel that stays ahead and keeps you ahead.
Thanks a lot, Samrat. Thanks a lot, Bhagesh. Thanks a lot, Basant, for your time. It was pleasure talking.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot to ABP Anando and Colors Marathi, our sponsors. Thanks a lot.